Last year, Ohio's Tim Cowan fulfilled a GT1 dream at the track with the famed red roof, scoring his first SCCA Valley Runoffs championship. On pole, hoping for gold, Cowan led the first lap. On the second tour, he lost the point to the Chevy Corvette of Cliff Eben. A highlight for many was the appearance at the runoffs of 77-year young Paul Newman, who put on an impressive drive. Newman took his Jaguar up to 6th. With 2 laps to go, Cowan, who had dogged Evans the entire race, took advantage of handling difficulties, regained the top spot, adding a gold to his collection of silvers. Victory is certainly sweet. Will this year see another win for Cowan in GT1? Find out next on Speed.
GT1 is the home of the fastest closed fendered cars here at the runoffs. These are former and current Trans Am machines. This is a former Dorsey Schrader Ford out of the Tom Bloy shops. Rob Georgie has a couple of national event wins this year. He's hoping to go to the top step of the podium at the runoffs. Richard Grant in this 30 car. This was Randy Ruhlman's Trans Am ride a year ago. Richard's won 7 GT1 nationals this season. He's a former champion here in GT4. Here's a car you recognize, currently active in the Trans Am series. This is the Ruhlman family's Corvette. Amy's driving it as a GT1 car this weekend. She had 7 top 5s, 1 national win. She's hoping to claim her first runoffs victory. Johnny O'Connell standing by with last year's GT1 champion.
You're right, Rick. We do have last year's champion, Tim Cowan, here. But I've also got a couple other gunfighters looking to take him out. And number 1 is Jack Bush. Now, Jack's been racing here since '95. He's been on the podium 3rd place. And that podium makes a guy real hungry. So we're looking for Jack to move up on the steps. Tim Cowan, of course, not only is he last year's champion, but the previous year, 2 years before that, he finished 2nd. So he's a strong runner at the front, and he's regular about it. And this year, he's got the added guns of having brand new bodywork on this Mustang. But taking him on is Cliff Eben in the Corvette. Now, Cliff also is extremely experienced. He's finished 2nd here. A lot of experience, and that 2nd place makes him hungry. He's going to be pushing real hard for the win this year.
Terrific field of automobiles ready to do battle. Part of the SCCA's Valley Runoffs, the 40th annual. From Mid-Ohio Sports Car Course in Lexington, Ohio. And you're watching the runoffs as always, here on Speed. It's been a terrific weekend of racing in all divisions. The GT1 cars very fast, essentially Trans Am machines. Slight difference in wheels, slight difference in rear wing, but by and large, these are Trans Am race cars. Hope you're enjoying our coverage of the runoffs. Great to have you with us. Johnny O'Connell back topside. And Johnny, take us around this 2¼ mile layout.
You know, Rick, Mid-Ohio is one of the most difficult and technically challenging racetracks in all America. No really fast, courageous type corners, but when you look at it, you got to look at your passing areas, which are turn 2, going into turn 1, and turn 4. But as far as technique goes, really the challenging and most challenging areas are 7, 8, and 9. That area right there is so difficult because it's off camber, there's elevation changes. Some places you're braking, turning, going down the gearbox. There are a lot of challenges that a driver has to deal with. We don't often see a whole lot of passing between 4 and 13, but a lot of times a guy makes a mistake and he'll pay for it at Mid-Ohio.
We saw a lot of action the last couple of days between turns 9 and 10 in that very short straightaway. It'll be interesting to see if the GT1 machines can take advantage of that part of the racetrack. Cliff Eben, who was a contender a year ago, is on the pole in the 36. Brett Moyer lines up alongside. That's a Corvette. 3 Oldsmobile Cutlasses from back in the 1980s are in the field. One of them in the hands of Lou Larimer starts 3rd. Former Trans Am competitor Frank Ciappatini is in the field. He'll line up in 18th spot today behind another former Trans Ammer, Dick Greer, in the 82. Let's get some of the late breaking stories from pit road as we get set to go racing. First to Calvin Fish.
Well, Rick, as you mentioned, Lou Larimer lines up 3rd here this afternoon. And back in 1979, he started from the front row in B production. He took a 17-year hiatus from racing and has made his goal to get back at the runoffs and perform well. And he's certainly doing that here this weekend. But a man he's getting help from is none other than a little Irish fella called Tommy Byrne. Ex-Grand Prix star, currently works here at the school. And the name of that driver development program is Crash or Burn. Hopefully it's not Crash and Burn for Lou Larimer this afternoon. Let's go to Sandy.
Well, Vincent Ashton has been the hard luck driver of this class this week. Blew a motor, looked like he wouldn't be in the race at all until a friend came and helped him along. It was Glenn Andrews. Glenn Andrews, the coach of Indiana basketball, high school coach, successfully loaned him this car. And now Vincent's luck is about to change. It's his 22nd birthday. It is his parents' 30th anniversary, and he is in a car that's ready to go. Guys?
So Vince Ashton taking over. That's his name taped over the coach Glenn Andrews' name on the door of that Camaro. 21 cars ready to do battle. GT1's national championship at stake at the Valvoline Runoffs. We'll be back here on Speed. Speed Channel's coverage of the 40th anniversary SCCA National Championship Runoffs being brought to you today by Valvoline. Valvoline, the #1 choice of top mechanics. GT1 machines on the pace lap here in Mid-Ohio. Johnny O'Connell, these are Trans Am cars, a little different from your GTS Corvette.
Yeah, they certainly are. You know, just talking about the Grand Touring category in generally, they are purpose-built, highly modified silhouette replicas of series-produced sports sedans. Now, these are all two-frame cars, serious race cars, but when it comes to horsepower and really strong cars, that's where the GT1 cars are. These are the highest horsepower cars in the SCCA, 500-600 horsepower. These things get up and go.
And several of these cars certainly have raced in the Trans Am Series. From Pit Road, Calvin Fish.
Well, Johnny was talking about the high horsepower cars. That really puts a strain on the tires today, Rick, and particularly the rear tires. A lot of the other classes worry about the left front. For Cliff Eben, the pole sitter, he said the main thing is keeping that huge tire underneath him for 20 laps. He said the balance is good, but you have to baby it a little bit over the race distance. Sandy?
Well, your second place qualifier, Brett Moyer, says he has the most technologically challenged car in the class right now. Why? He bought it off of eBay, and it's a circle track car. It's one of Lou Gelati's old cars. He says they have changed everything. They only have 2 spare parts, a windshield wiper and a set of rain tires, which he says they probably won't need those. But he says that car just wants to turn left over and over, so he'll have to watch to see if he's finally got the setup together.
Oh, we told you there would be 21 cars in the lineup here today, but the 5th place qualifier won't take the green. Sandy, what's the problem with the number 20?
Well, I'm here right now with Brian Kubinski. You've got your driver's uniform on and everything. What happened?
We were just warming the motor up in morning warm-up about 45 minutes ago, and motor broke a lifter. So it was running real good, and all of a sudden a crew chief started to hear a slight tick in the valve train, pulled the valve cover, and investigated it, reset the valves, and put it back together, and warmed it up again, started it, and it started ticking again. So
broken motor here for Brian Kubinski. He's going to have to watch this from pit lane.
Kubinski qualified 5th. Front row, Cliff Eben in the white number 36. The former Lou Gelati machine in the hands of Brett Moyer from Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. On the outside pole, Johnny down the backstretch to turn 4. This is an important place on the racetrack.
It really is. You know, any position you can get at the start is an easy position, and you know a lot of these guys are going to be taking chances.
Lou Larimer, Phil Sims in the 2nd row trying to move up. Eben and then 36, very strong. Last year's winner, Tim Cowan, who's got a lot of Trans Am races to his credit in that 75, that red Mustang. He has to start back at 8th spot. We'll see if he can move up through the field. There's Dick Greer in the 82, veteran campaigner in Trans Am, also in Grand Am with that car. Richard Grant there in the machine that used to be the ride of Randy Ruhlman in the Trans Am Series, that blue and white Corvette, the number 30. Evan's the leader as they come down the short chute. Sorry, John.
One of the things, you know, and Calvin mentioned it, in this category, more than any other category, tire management is going to play a key role. And we do, of course, have 2 different tire manufacturers here, Goodyear and Hoosier. Hoosier right now, they've got the quick time, but doing 20 laps when you have 600 horsepower, keeping those rear tires underneath you for that whole time, especially, you know, the day's not too cool, or not too hot, but the track temperature with the sun being out there is, and so these guys are going to have to watch the wheel spin anytime they come off a corner.
Got a glimpse of the number 23, the Senwell Corvette in the hands of Amy Ruhlman. That's a regular campaigning team on the Trans Am Tour. Dad Bob Ruhlman drives in Trans Am. Amy's had a terrific year driving that car in the Nationals. One car going around up in the keyhole. It's the 05, I believe. No, the 56 car goes around. That is the car of Tom Slow from Newberry, Ohio.
And talk about a frustrating moment there. You know, really, the first lap isn't even over. They've not done a complete lap. People ask, why might that happen? Well, again, he's in there. He's hard on the brakes. He's got too much rear bias going on there, getting it in there. Loses the rear of the car, and I tell you what, it's so hard to gather that car up when you don't have tire pressures up yet, you don't have tire temperatures up yet. Normally it's about the 2nd or 3rd lap where you can really attack hard.
He's back underway. Slow had started in the 6th position. He was up to 5th as they came across the finish line on the first lap. That kid print, preownedcars.net number 56. Your leader is Cliff Eben, ran 2nd here a year ago to Tim Cowan in that Mustang, the 75. Eben building a good lead over Brett Moyer in the 42. Third spot to Lou Larimer, and yes, that is a very old Oldsmobile Cutlass. 3 of them in the field here.
You know, it's so funny because I look at those cars and I can't help wonder if I didn't compete against them at some point in my career. They look so darn familiar. And but you know what? The beautiful thing about GT1, as long as you stay on top of your maintenance and everything, and then look after your cars, these cars can run a very long time and still be competitive.
Great story about Brett Moyer buying that Lou Gelati machine off of eBay, and they brought no spares with them essentially. Put it on the outside pole. They only got to run about 45 miles here, but Johnny, as we've seen earlier in the weekend, for these cars and drivers, that's a long run.
It very much is so. And one other aspect that these drivers deal with more than any other drivers in the SCCA this weekend is heat in the car. These engines, you know, to make horsepower, you produce heat, and these cars in the cockpit are going to get really, really hot.
Tim Cowan, Jack Bush in that 05. That's another of the Cutlasses. Bush to the inside, down into turn 4. Cowan with that new bodywork on the Mustang, able to hold him back. Jack Bush out of Torrington, Connecticut, in the northwest corner of the state, not too far away from Lime Rock Park. Part of the Northeast Division.
This area that they're coming up to right now, the turn 8-9 area, right as they're coming downhill there, it's hard to see, but that is off camber. The tilt of the road is away from you, and you're also dropping down in gear. It is so difficult. And when you talk about Mid-Ohio and it being a technician's track, a guy that, you know, has to be so good with the small little things that a driver does. Cowan got in there too deep, and it almost cost him. But that's one of the most challenging parts of the racetrack.
That yellow Mustang, Rob Georgie, and that does have the Tommy Bahama logo on it. That's a car that Dorsey Schrader drove a few years ago in Trans Am. This is the incident between Bush and Tim Cowan in the S's. They lean on one another here, and everybody keeps on the racetrack. Cowan able to stay back on the throttle, and he emerges from the final corner with the advantage over the 05. Northeast Division champion this year. Going up actually out of turn 1 up toward the keyhole here. Cowan running 5th, Bush is 6th, Georgie in that yellow Mustang is 7th. Craig Conway, veteran campaigner in Grand Am and many other series, the 09, he's back there in 8th. Amy Ruman is 9th. They're all chasing Cliff Eben after 3 laps at Mid-Ohio.
Last year at the Runoffs, whilst competing in the American sedan category, Scott Moore qualified 31st and despite a mid-race spin, battled his way back to a 14th place finish. But Scott, earlier this season, you've made the move to GT1, but you found that you had another battle on your hands. Tell us about that.
Yeah, in March, we found out that I have colon cancer, stage 4 colon cancer. And we'd already committed to the racing season and moved to GT1. Of course, we've been battling cancer all season long with chemotherapy, radiation therapy, and what have you. And we're going to fight it.
Well, the result has already happened. The fact that Scott is competing here at the Runoffs, and good news is on the way. On November 15th, he and his wife V are expecting their first child.
Well, we certainly congratulate him and wish him well in his battle with a very serious disease. And Scott Moore has the 39 up to 15th. That's one of those 3 Cutlasses in the field. Johnny, haven't seen those cars on the racetrack other than GT1 for a long time, but they're still pretty competitive, as you mentioned.
Well, you know what, and Scott's giving it all he's got to keep out, you know, on the racetrack and hold position there when you got a, you know, driver breathing on you like that. Very difficult sometimes to maintain your composure, and a lot of times you can overuse your rear tires, and I think that might be what happened to Scott right there. Just laid a little bit too much power down and wasn't able to get out of the corner as strong as he needed.
Tom Slow, who spun a couple of laps ago up here in the keyhole on the button, gets by Scott Moore to take 16th spot away from him. Cliff Evans leading. Lou Larimer is 2nd on lap number 4. Brett Moyer 3rd. Sims and Cowan the top 5. And Calvin, what about Tom Slow? Has he got an opportunity? Is he fast enough to get up and contend here?
He certainly got a fast car, Rick. Having qualified up in the 6th spot, he did radio into the crew and said he just locked it up a little bit under braking, turned it around, and he's back underway. No damage to the car whatsoever, no flat spots on the tires. But I guess, Rick, you call that a slow spin?
I would say, no doubt about that. Certainly want to give Scott Moore our best wishes too, as he fights a very difficult fight. And certainly when you come racing, Johnny, it can be an inspiration to come to the racetrack with your friends and compete week in and week out. 2nd spot in the hands of Lou Larimer. The 42 now. Brett Moyer falling back to 3rd. He's under heavy pressure. Sims in that black 24 car right with him.
Sims doing a nice job to keep the pressure on, but you know, So often in these races we hear about guys say, well, I'm going to hold back. I'm not going to make my move till the second half of the race. And that's really, in this category car, it makes sense because we watch right now, Evan is flying. He's running lap times that are about a second quicker than anyone else. But to do that, you've got to use up your tire, you got to use up your brakes. And in this category of cars, it can come back and haunt you. You get to laps 12, 13, and on to 20, and sometimes you see these guys coming back at an alarming rate.
Sims on the inside into turn 4, going for third spot. Can't quite get it done as they head up the hill to the S's. The 42 of Moyer able to stay there. A couple of good Corvettes doing battle. Tim Cowan is up to 5th after starting 8th, but he's not really in contact with this battle. Cowan another 4 or 5 seconds back. So the defending champion in GT1 not up to pace here this weekend, Johnny, in that 75.
You know, and when I saw his car when we were talking earlier, of course he's got that new bodywork on, and you put new bodywork on, it changes all the downforce characteristics. You know, you put new on, it doesn't necessarily mean better right away. You know, those teams in Trans Am that run the new bodywork, well, they've done a whole lot of testing and preparation, and they know how to match spring, shocks, bars, the whole 9 yards, and that's why it works for them.
Well, Cliff Evan has built a lead over Lou Larimer, 5.5 seconds. We've completed 6 of the 20 laps. There's Evan in the 36. He's led all the way so far. We'll be back at Mid-Ohio. Welcome back to Speed Channel's coverage, the 40th renewal of the SCCA National Championships. We're at Mid-Ohio Sports Car Course for the Valvoline Runoffs here on Speed. Alongside GTS star Johnny O'Connell, I'm Rick Benjamin. Pit Road, Calvin Fish, Sandy Hangmanning. Our positions down there. You're watching Grand Touring 1, the fight for the national title. Cliff Evan in car number 36 from Appleton, Wisconsin, the Milwaukee region of the SCCA. Hoosier tires on that car, and he has been out front all the way. Coming up to put another lap on the board, 7 of 20 complete. Lou Larimer, one of the cutlasses in the field, has advanced to 2nd spot. Larimer 5 3/4 seconds back. Phil Sims is 3rd. Brett Moyer getting shuffled back to 4th after opening in 2nd spot. The 05 of Jack Bush is 5th in line. Rob Georgie is 6th. Tim Cowan has moved up 1 to 7th, and Craig Conway is now 8th in the 09 car. Georgie in that yellow Mustang trying to track down Jack Bush. This is for 5th.
You know, we spoke a little bit about tires and performance. Right now we're at the 7th lap. Evan's starting to show little signs of slowing down. His last several laps have been successively slower, whereas a guy like Sims and Larimer, they've actually picked up their pace a little bit. So just because Evan has a little bit of a lead right now doesn't mean it's game over yet.
Here's Georgie trying to go to the inside of Jack Bush, the Northeast Region champion. 3 national wins to win the regional title up in the Northeast this season. Able to keep the door closed on Georgie. The race is out of Rocky River, Ohio. He's from the Northeast Ohio region. In that Winter Circle Mustang. Former Tom Gloy Trans Am car. And that's got the older style Mustang bodywork. Cowan has updated his bodywork on the 75.
Exactly.
And Cowan now shuffled back to 7th. There's your leader, Evan. On Hoosier tires, and Calvin, we'd heard earlier from some of the other categories of racing that the Hoosiers weren't considered to be as good on long runs. Evan so far, though, flawless. What's the situation?
Well, he's looking strong. I'm down here with Steve Kaiser, his crew chief. And Steve, run the Hoosier tire. It comes in awfully fast, but is there any concerns over 20 laps whether it can hold up or not?
No, I think we're okay. He's been running those, and he's really happy with them. So I'm going to say the Hoosier tires are working pretty good.
You're setting the car up. Do you try and do longer runs and get a good feel for the balance of the race car over a full fuel load?
Yeah, basically. These are relatively short, but Cliff's pretty good at it, so I think we're set to cover most of it.
Okay, he says they got them covered. And Cliff Evan, I used to race against this man back in the Atlantic days. Johnny O and I running Atlantic in '87. I was on the East Coast, and Cliff Evan in an old '79 March used to knock on the door on the top 5 regularly in a car that had no right to be there. The man could certainly drive fast.
As we watch the board, Lou Larimer continues to run 2nd. Sandy Hang, his crew chief, must be pretty pleased with that rather ancient Cutlass that's up in the top 2.
I'm with Mike Green, and not so bad there. 2nd place so far, holding on to it. You're on Goodyears while the leader is on Hoosiers.
Yep, we'll see how the Goodyears do. Hoosiers are a good tire, but I think Goodyears are going to be better today. We'll see.
Now, you were talking earlier to me about changing almost everything this week, trying to get the right combination.
Yeah, we started out pretty good, and all the changes we made, car keeps going faster and faster.
That's Mike Green. He's paying attention to what the driver's saying on the headset. He's a little bit distracted right now, but wouldn't you be when you've got a car doing so well?
Now Larimer solidly in second spot after starting third. Got to second in the early laps, and he's holding there about 5 3/4 seconds behind the leader, Johnny.
And each lap, though, getting quicker. Each one of his laps has been quicker than the previous. So, again, lap 10 through 20, it's going to be interesting. This race might tighten up.
He was 3/10 quicker last time around than Evan. Evan ran a 1:26.4, Larimer a 1:26.1, so he's got an opportunity there, but he can't waste much time as we approach halfway.
Well, no, you got to push hard all the time, and at Mid-Ohio, that's kind of difficult. There are so many unique things about this racetrack that do make it a challenge. You know, one of the biggest ones for me, it's a racetrack that I always come to and I never feel like I've got it mastered. You know, you've got concrete in the middle of the corners, big curves, difficult racetrack.
Last year's champ Cowan running 7th. Amy Ruman trying to get by. We'll be back.
The driver of the red number 23 is dealing with a role reversal here at the runoffs. During the weekend, Amy Ruman is a field hockey coach for fun, and she's on the radio for her dad, Trans Am driver Bob Ruman, during the week. But this weekend, she's in the cockpit, and he is coaching her from the keyhole. How is that to have your dad on the radio on headset?
Actually, it's really good. He gives me a lot of good advice, and I take in what he says, but sometimes it is a little distracting, but for the most part, helps me out.
This is Amy's first runoffs in GT1. She's moving up from Spec Racer.
She was very strong at Spec Racer, won a lot of national races there. She's had several national wins in this car as well. She's right behind Tim Cowan. This is for 7th spot. Johnny, I guess the surprise here would be that Cowan, the defending champion, is so far off the pace. I mean, he's running 2 seconds slower than Evan, who he battled last year.
I think a lot of people are very surprised at that, but for Ruman, this is a great opportunity to go to school now to make that jump like she has to GT1. You know, this is a huge change, going from very little horsepower to tons of horsepower, but it looks like she's adapting to it quite well.
Still a couple of car lengths separating the Mustang, the 75 of Tim Cowan, local driver here. The 2002 runoffs champion from Amy Ruman in car number 23. She's from Kent, Ohio.
Cowan looks like he's struggling a little bit.
Yeah.
You've seen him go loose exiting a lot of these corners, and really as a driver what he needs to do is focus on opening his hands as he comes off the corner. Whatever you do, you got to prevent that rear end from rotating on you.
Watching the 05 Northeast Region champ Jack Bush running 5th in that Cutlass. Rob Georgie right behind him in the 88, battling for 5th position. Georgie out of Rocky River, Ohio, the Winner's Circle Mustang. They're closing in on the 4th place car, the 42, the former Lou Gelati Trans Am machine of Brett Moyer. It's Moyer in the yellow and black Chevrolet there. And here is Bush. It's a pretty good 3-car scramble. We passed halfway, 9 laps to go. Evans building his lead, now 6.4 seconds ahead of Lou Larimer in 2nd spot. Phil Simms runs 3rd.
You know, you might have heard me earlier talk about concrete in the corners.
Yeah.
And what they've done is in pretty much all the corners here, they've cut away the asphalt and they've laid down concrete. And the reason they do that is heavy cars like this or cars with a lot of downforce can actually pull the asphalt up. They don't like to replace that, so what do? Well, they put down concrete. Now, why that's difficult is because as a driver, you turn in on the asphalt, you've got good grip, you hit the concrete, you start to slide, you finish the corner, you've got grip again, but it's that middle part of the corner where both cars are sliding, it's so difficult, and it makes getting a run on your competitor, even if you're stronger, so hard to do.
Greg Conway in the 09. That's one of the Fliss Racing Corvettes from the Grand Am Series a couple of years ago. Conway, one of that team's regular drivers, battling for position with Phil Lasco here in the 44. That is 9th and 10th. Conway 2nd here 12 years ago. Lots of pro experience.
Wee bit of smoke coming off the back of the car. I don't know whether it maybe zinged the motor or something, but
watching some of these battles on the track, Johnny, especially the battle for 4th, 5th, and 6th, which is very tight right now as we continue to watch the 44 and the 09 of Conway go at it. I'm surprised that an older Cutlass, a car that's 15, 18 years old, can be competitive with a current day Trans Am car. What's behind all that?
Well, you know, a lot of it is, remember, if that car's got some history to it, they've got setups, they got information from previous races, that's always an advantage.
Still watching Craig Conway hang on to 9th. We'll be back at Mid-Ohio. Welcome back on Speed Channel. Coverage of the SCCA's Valvoline Runoffs, the 40th renewal of the Runoffs from Mid-Ohio Sports Car Course in Lexington, Ohio. With Johnny O'Connell, I'm Rick Benjamin. Calvin Fish and Sandy Hanger on pit road. The GT1 championship fight. Not much of a fight at the moment. Cliff Edmond is standing in the ring all by himself here, waiting to see if anybody's going to come up and challenge him. Lou Larimer 6.5 seconds back, but Edmond pretty loose that time as he came through the carousel.
You know what, but he's been consistent with it. It doesn't look like it's getting any worse. He just ran a 26.2, so he's still running very competitive lap times. And you know, the C5R, you know, just looks great around there. C5 has a mistake there, but that Corvette, you know, it's just pretty hooked up today.
Amy Ruman has gotten by Tim Cowan for position, so give her 7th in the Senwell 23. Cowan shuffled back to 8th spot right now.
And for her, that's huge, because, you know, to get by Cowan, you know, one of the big dogs, that is going to give her so much self-confidence and allow her to push harder for the rest of this race.
Well, she's possibly got an opportunity for a top 5. She's 5 seconds out of the top 5. Let's get an update from pit road. Calvin Fish.
Well, down here in Tim Cowan's pit, and Howard Long's on the radio, Tim, we don't expect the defending champ to come back and qualify 7th, and now he's moving back in the field. Any problems today as well?
Really, we're just trying to get the tires set in, and hopefully we can run the leaders down once he gets the tires set in. And we think the car's okay. It was good this morning when we went out. We're hoping it stays good.
Well, that's a really positive attitude. We're 13 laps in. If he's going to make a move, fellas, he better make it happen fast.
Yeah, he better find another 100 cubic inches, I would say, at 26 seconds behind.
I'm just glad my guys don't set my tires to come in at 13.
Hey, you want to be flying when you take the green flag, don't you?
You wait till that 19th lap, Johnny, you're going to be flying.
A strategy that might have a flaw.
I tell you.
Cowan all by himself on the racetrack running 8th. He's ahead of Craig Conway by a good bit. Conway another 6 or 7 seconds back. Cowan running all by himself out there.
And real quick to talk about Cowan, you know, a lot of times when your car is not working well, you're not reporting it because it's all you can do to keep that thing on the road. And, you know, there's time to talk about what the race car's doing. Your guys in the pits, they can't do anything for you anyway. So I'm sure Cowan's just focused on getting every last bit out of that car that he can.
We saw this battle a little earlier. The 44, Phil Lasco's Mustang, he's gotten by Craig Conway. So Conway shuffled back to 10th. Lasco up to 9th, gaining a spot. The only driver to do so in the top 10 on that last lap. Watching Conway in that 09 from Edgewater, Florida. The Goodyear Diamond Suzuki Mobile 1 car. Let's bring in Sandy Hang. What are you hearing down at pit road, Sandy?
Well, actually, I talked to Craig Conway before the race. We were getting a hamburger over at the stand. I said, Craig, geez, it's unusual to see you here at the sprints. You've been doing so much enduro. He said, I don't know if I can change my mindset here. I'm used to driving and driving and driving. And he said, this sprint race, he said, we've been chasing this setup all week long. Troy Fliss, his crew chief, and that's the same car they do run in Grand Am with a lot of changes, of course. He said, I don't know how well we'll do, but we're going to sure give it a try.
So it shows you that sometimes the pro teams struggle when they come here to the runoffs. Craig Conway back in 10th. Your leader, Cliff Evan, 5 to go in Mid-Ohio. Welcome back on Speed. Coverage of the GT1 Championship, the SCCA Valvoline Runoffs from Mid-Ohio Sports Car Course. With Johnny O'Connell, I'm Rick Benjamin. Calvin Fish, Sandy Hang on pit road. Cliff Evan is the leader. But, Johnny, you're watching the lap time splits, and Evan seems to be backing up all of a sudden.
Well, there's 5 laps to go, and this is what you watch for. You watch to see if his lap times fall off. And is it consecutively falling off worse a little bit each time? Now, Larimer's running pretty consistent, mid to low 26s. Evan, his last 2 laps, has been in the 27s. So if that is a sign that those tires are going off, when they start to go off, they can sometimes go off real quickly. And, you know, Larimer knows that. He's backing up towards him, and he's pushing every bit as hard as he can.
Favorite drivers listed up top in the speed strip. Evan the leader, Larimer in that Cutlass second, Phil Simms, Jack Bush, Rob Georgie. The top 5, Amy Ruman up to 7th. Tim Cowan, last year's winner, sits 8th. And Craig Conway in the Grand Am Series in 10th. So you've got a really interesting mix of drivers. Georgie still trying to get by Jack Bush. This is for 4th spot. Heading toward the carousel, and Bush really loose. Evan and Larimer, the gap closing up front. Another 127.4 by Evan. Larimer, a 126.1. He's got the whip out, Johnny. He's 3.4 seconds back.
Well, and again, you don't know whether it's watch that tire battle going on. Now, a lot of times you're leading a race, you breathe it a little bit, kind of save some of your watching your mirrors. But in the runoffs here, these guys are generally flat out every lap. So this is going to be interesting. We got 4 laps to go, and a lot of things can still happen.
Busch and Georgie have gotten by Brett Moyer in that good-looking black and yellow Corvette, the 42 that started on the outside pole. And if you follow the Trans Am series, you'll recognize the car, I'm sure. It's an ex-Lou Gelati machine. Moyer was quick in practice and qualifying, but he's been backing up since the drop of the green in that car. The 42 settling in 6th. Amy Ruman closing in the 23 car. She may be able to battle him for 6th. And Amy certainly got a shot at the top 5 here today, which would be an excellent result. Her first national championship in GT1. Busch in the 05 continues to run 4th. Here's the 24, Phil Simms, running all alone in 3rd. He's another 2.5 behind Lou Larimer. You can just see Larimer going under the bridge there in the Cutlass. And here comes Simms. He seems to be gaining some speed as well, Johnny. He ran a 1:25.8. He had the quickest lap last time around.
You know what? And why does that happen, people might ask? Well, I mean, a lot of times a guy sets his car up for the end of the race. And what's good about that is because your fuel load is low. You know, the car's getting lighter. You're going to accelerate better. You're going to brake better. But right now, we're seeing towards the end of this race, Simms running fast, Larimer running fast, Evan trying to hold on.
Now the 24 of Simms in 3rd spot. He's about a 2nd behind Larimer. And Rob Georgie right up behind Jack Busch as they battle it out for 4th. They continue to run nose to tail down into turn 1. They've raced like that the last 3 or 4 laps. Up front, Evan back in the 126s. I'm sure his crew told him he needed to pick up the pace. Less than 3 to go at Mid-Ohio. Welcome back on Speed Channel, the GT1 National Championship, the SCCA's Valvoline Runoffs from Mid-Ohio. Laps are winding down, heading to the S's. Jack Busch from Connecticut in that Cutlass, the red and white 05. Rob Georgie in car number 88. That's a Mustang from Rocky River, Ohio, former Trans Am machine. And Busch doing a great job, the Northeast champion this year in that car. Able to hold about a 3-car length lead over Georgie.
And it's been consistent at that, and really what a driver's got to do is hit their marks, you know, get to your apex, get to your exit. But the last thing, when you've got a guy all over you like that, the last thing you want to do is really start getting your braking too much deeper, because that's what the guy behind you is hoping for you, to run into a corner too fast, miss your apex, then he's got you. So it's control going in and then control coming out.
Top 3 starting to tighten up. Here's Amy Ruman moving by the 42 of Moyer. So she gets 6th. Moyer with the handling evidently going away on that car. Amy Ruman nice and steady through the carousel. She is knocking on the door of the top 5, but she's got a ways to go. Rob Georgie sits 5th in the 88, and there's a gap of about 7 seconds between those two. Up front, Johnny Evan leads. Larimer got the lead down to under 3 seconds, and then Simms is another 2nd back.
Those guys at the front are starting to wake it up there. Ruman, what a great day for her.
Sure.
I mean, she's moving up through the field, making passes in areas where you really shouldn't be passing people. So, you know, nice job for her.
10th to 6th. And that is a great run for that Ohio-based team. Her folks are some of the nicest people in the Trans Am Tour. Bob Ruman's had a couple of good runs the last 2 seasons with that Corvette. As we take a look at the battle for 2nd, Larimer in that Cutlass, the red, white, and blue 47. Right behind him, Phil Simms in the black 24. They're lapping by the 39 of cancer victim and survivor Scott Moore from Humboldt, Texas. We heard from him a little earlier. And we wish him and his family all the best as they fight a tough fight. Evan pushing high there in the carousel.
And getting loose now. He's going to have 1 more lap to go. You don't know what's going to happen with traffic. He's looking pretty good. But Larimer and Simms, this game is certainly not over.
Final lap in the GT1 Championship. 1.8 seconds, the gap between 1st and 2nd. Another 7/10 back to 3rd. There's your leader heading toward the keyhole. Final time around here. Cruz looking on anxiously from pit wall. Larimer opens up the low side. Boy, he went way wide there, Johnny.
Really opened up the door. Now, why did the guy do that? Well, he wants to make the radius of his corner as big as possible to get a quick run down the straightaway, and it looks like it worked. He got a pretty good jump off of turn 2.
That was Larimer's crew we saw a moment ago. He did open up a couple of additional car lengths on Simms, who's 3rd. Your leader, Evan, he's led all the way so far. About half a track to go. Larimer using every trick he's got in his book as they hit the S's.
Yeah, you know what? Larimer's cutting this thing down. He and Simms are probably within about a 1.5 now right now of Evan. So, you know, there's a lot going on right now.
Under the Honda bridge, Evan in the white 36 car, so close a year ago. Just lost it in the final couple of laps to Tim Cowan in the 75. Cowan is back in 8th today. He has just been off the pace all weekend long. Evans' team listening on the radio. See if their driver, who's a veteran, you heard Calvin talk about Evan racing in the Atlantic Series many years ago. Larimer's crew looking on as well. Checkered flag is in the air. Cliff Evan will do it. Wire to wire at the runoffs. Cliff Evan scores the GT1 championship. Larimer is second. Phil Simms is third. Jack Bush will be next in line. We'll see what happens as Bush heads toward the stripe. And he has spun. Jack Bush had fourth in the bag. He spins. That'll move Rob Georgie to fourth, and Amy Ruman on her way to a top 5. Georgie is fourth. The 39 car goes by. We see Bush back on the racetrack. Here comes Amy Ruman. She will score a top 5 after qualifying 10th. Brett Moyer is 6th. Cowan gets 7th. There's Jack Bush just losing to Johnny in the last couple of turns.
You know what? And that's one of those areas, you know, every time you come out of a corner, you want to think about bringing the steering out of the car. It looks like what he did right there was still have his steering in, pull the trigger, and when you've got that much horsepower and tired, worn-out tires, it's easy to get them to go around, and that's what happened.
For Evan, his first victory in GT1 at these runoffs, his first gold medal. A wire-to-wire run and a great outing for that number 36 team. Great run, Cliff Evan. Certainly will look forward to coming to victory lane and picking up the gold medal. Calvin Fish, they have got to be a happy bunch down there.
Very happy, and I'm down here with Mary, his wife. That's a tremendous performance. It got a little tight there at the end. You had to be nervous.
I was getting scared at the end. He was catching him. 47 looked like he was gaining on him, but I think Cliff was just slowing because we were telling him he had a little lead.
He's had so much success, won a lot of races. What does it mean to claim that first national championship?
Oh, he'll be excited. He was really excited, just doing so well this week, and it's been a wonderful week, so it'll mean a lot to him.
Second last year, they come back, they claim the gold medal. Great performance by Cliff Evan. Let's go down to Sandy.
Well, right now I'm with Mike Green, his crew chief. You were, what, 4.5 second split, then he cut it down to 1.5 seconds. It looked like maybe for a minute you needed a couple more laps.
Yeah, I think one more lap and we would have brought it and went home. It was real close there.
What has he said on the radio, if anything? You guys were all laughing and then you wouldn't let us in on it. What's he saying?
He was talking with his driver coach on how good of a job he did. He was just glad to be there.
He was happy to hold on to it. That's Mike Green, the crew chief there for Lou Larimer.
Good second place run in that Cutlass in the 47 car. Larimer does get the silver medal honors here today. Phil Simms gets credit for third. Amy Ruman brings the 23 car down pit road, advancing into the top 5. Calvin Fish.
She does, and her mother is absolutely jumping for joy down here. Barbara, what a performance by that young girl.
She got held up a little bit, but she persevered and got through and came up with 5th at the last lap.
Must be in the genes. Bob's such a great driver, and now handing the car over to the daughter. I mean, it's a great performance by her.
Well, he hasn't handed it over, but just for a little while. We're going to run Puerto Rico, so we're going to skip Miami, but run Puerto Rico for Trans Am. But she learned all from me, because I used to run too. So
there you go. Runs in the family, and the car's just on loan, boys.
It is a family affair and a great run. Amy Ruman, Bob leaning in the window to have a word with his daughter, and congratulations to the whole family. They are wonderful folks, and good to see them with a great top 5 run. Larimer has the visor up and the window net down as he is driving toward his pit stall. And an excellent GT1 race for Evan. For Larimer, Simms was very impressive too, Johnny.
You know, he was, and it's interesting. Normally you get GT1 and there's a little bit of contact going on. These guys lean on each other, but none today. Nice clean racing.
And a great show put on by these big bore American sedans. We'll come back with more of the stories from GT1 at the SCCA's Valvoline Runoffs. Today's Speed Channel coverage of the 40th anniversary SCCA National Championship Runoffs being brought to you by Valvoline. Valvoline, the #1 choice of top mechanics coast to coast. Welcome back to Mid-Ohio Sports Car Course with Johnny O'Connell. I'm Rick Benjamin. Cliff Evans scores his first GT1 championship. Larimer closed at the end, finishes second. Philip Simms, Rob Georgie, Amy Ruman, your top 5. Let's hear from the winner, Calvin Fish.
Well, we're down here in Victory Circle. He's about to get that gold medal put around his neck by his wife, Mary. Great job today by Cliff Evans. Talk about the performance. Talk about the battle at the end. Those boys were getting awfully close. Did you have under control?
I think so. I didn't have too many laps left and knew I was slowing down a little bit, but I kept looking behind me and I kept seeing nothing, so figured toward the end there I'd be okay.
Tire management is such a key with these big, heavy cars, Cliff. You're used to running Atlantic cars over the year, many other categories in between, but got huge tires on the car, 20 laps. It was slipping and sliding a little bit at the end, it looked like.
Yeah, it was starting to go away a little, but it wasn't too bad.
All right, man. Well, great performance. Great to see you in winner's circle, somewhere you always belong. Let's go down to Sandy.
Right now I'm with Lou Larimer. We were just talking about, looked like it was getting slippery there at the end.
The end of the, well, I didn't have enough rear bar to get it just the way I wanted it, but it was good. It felt a little loose, actually made it work a little better in certain parts and bad in others.
Well, you had a 4.5 second split there with the leader, and then at the end you brought it down to about a 1.5 seconds. You were closing.
It was looking good. It was feeling like we could do it, but the guys were counting off my laps, and I'm going, man, it's getting closer and closer and less time, but it felt like it could happen, just didn't know if it would.
What's this like, this moment, being able to place on the podium here?
Well, it's great to be on the podium. It's great to just be back racing. I've been back for a few years and just got this car a year and a half or 2 years ago, so it's nice to just be here at the runoffs after 20 years of not being here.
Well, you're silver medalist here, Lou Larimer. Guys?
Good run, certainly, for Larimer, veteran out of Hayward, California, and a terrific run. Cliff Evan back in his Corvette. He will take the checkered flag around on the traditional lap of honor here at Mid-Ohio. Johnny O'Connell, interesting to see these big cars do battle. Tire management, I think, had a lot to do with it today.
It really did. It was interesting to see, Larimer and Sims at the end coming up towards him, but Evan, he did what he needed to do. The only lap that matters is that last one, and he was the king of the hill when the checkered flag.
Let's show you how the field took the checkered flag here in GT1. Evans scoring the flag victory. After coming home second a year ago, he was able to jump up by 1 spot. Larimer comes home in the runner-up position. Philip Sims out of Florida is third. Rob Georgie in that Mustang. And Amy Ruman gets to the top 5 in the Sunweld 23. Brett Moyer, Tim Cowan rounding out, or part of the top 10. Tom Slow had that early spin. He finishes 11th. Joe Hooker, Dick Greer, and Craig Conway, a couple of Pro Series veterans. Vince Ashton, Scott Moore, Turpak, Emery, Kabinski, Chapatini didn't take the green today, and Bob Humphreys also failing to take the green. More of the stories from pit road. Back to Sandy Hank.
Right now with Phil Sims, we're just talking about this is second runoffs, and the second time you finished third. What's with that?
I don't know. I'm trying, but I just didn't get no higher. I wanted to finish higher. Nobody tried any harder than I did, I'll tell you.
What were the track conditions like out there, especially toward the end of the race?
I thought the track was in good shape. I really did. The last lap, it got a little bit greasy, but other than that, it was real good. We run a bunch of fast, consistent laps, and we followed our game plan. We just didn't get caught up in time.
At any point, did you think you might be able to get a little closer to Lou Larimer?
Well, a lot of times I thought I could, but I couldn't. I got almost up beside him up on the top of the hill on the last lap, but then as close as I could get to him.
Okay, but you're happy to take third here today.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, congratulations to Phil Sims.
Thank you.
The Floridian started 4th, finishes 3rd. Really was charging at the end, Johnny, but it needed another 5 laps or so.
He really did. And you know what? When you only have 20 laps, every lap is important. A lot of times at this type of racing, guys take 2 or 3 laps to find the rhythm. We saw that with Larimer and Sims. Had those 2 or 3 initial laps been quicker, they might have been there at the end.
Evan, though, was fast from the drop of the green and leads all the way home in the 36. Well, as we've mentioned a couple of times, I think one of the best stories with GT1, the young driver who finishes 5th, her first time out in this car in the national championship. She's with Calvin Fish.
Well, a big smile on her face. Another 500 horsepower didn't phase you today, Amy. Great performance.
Thank you. We just wanted to bring that Sunwell McNichols Corvette to the front, and that's what I tried to do. Had a good car, got held up by some people. That's why I fell back a little bit. But the car came to me, and top 5, I'm happy. That's where I wanted to be.
Well, a great performance. She certainly learned from the best in her dad. He's been a long-time Trans Am competitor and certainly done a great job here. But we'll try and have another quick chat with her. Amy, talk about the fact that your dad has coached you along the way and set you on track here. But it's such a big jump. How much can he help you? How much is it down to you just getting behind the wheel and getting experience?
He's a big help. He has a lot of experience, and I listen to every word he says. And, I've had all top 5s this year. I've gotten comfortable with the car. And this is the race I wanted to be at, and I'm here, and I got top 5, so I'm pretty happy. He's helped me out a lot.
Well, now your mother says that the car's just on loan. They're going to skip Miami down to Puerto Rico, so are you going to try and steal the keys back?
We'll see. I think he might finish out the season, and then next year's a whole different ball game. Maybe we'll see both of us in Trans Am next year.
Well, that would be awesome. One note on the contingency award. Winner today gets 2 free entries in the Trans Am competition for Cliff Evan.
Well, that's great, and I'm sure we'll see Evan back giving Trans Am a go once again. So Amy Ruman, you can see that smile on her face. Rare for a young girl to say, I listen to every word my dad tells me. That's pretty good.
My head turned around when she said that. I wonder if she follows curfew.
I'm sure she did at the appropriate time. Hope you enjoyed our coverage of the GT1 National Championship run here on Speed. Great victory by Cliff Evan today, flag to flag. Tough day for Tom Slow, for Jack Bush, for Tim Cowan, and some of the other competitors. But a very entertaining run. Hope you've enjoyed our coverage. For Johnny O'Connell, Calvin Fish, and Sandy Hang, I'm Rick Benjamin, congratulating your GT1 National Champion, Cliff Evan. Thanks for watching. Talk to you next time here on Speed.